The Two Deadly Friends. In the bustling streets of Lagos, where life pulsated like a never-ending rhythm, two boys were born on the same day, in the same hospital. Chike and Emeka grew up in Ajigona, a rough neighborhood where survival was a daily struggle. Their families were hardworking, humble people, deeply rooted in their Christian faith. The boys, however, were a different story. From childhood, Chike and Emeka were inseparable, bound by a friendship that seemed destined for greatness. But as they grew older, their bond became a source of trouble. By the time they were teenagers, they had earned a reputation as the terrors of their community. No one could pinpoint when things began to spiral, but there were whispers of something dark that overshadowed their lives. The change. At the age of 15, Chike and Emeka began exhibiting strange behaviors. It started subtly. Emeka would speak in tongues no one understood, his voice deep and guttural, as though another being spoke through him. Chike, on the other hand, developed an uncanny ability to manipulate people. He could convince anyone to do his bidding, no matter how absurd the request. Their parents, devout Christians, prayed fervently, hoping the boys were merely going through a phase. But things only grew worse. At school, they disrupted classes, bullied other students, and incited chaos. Teachers were terrified of them, claiming to see shadows following the boys wherever they went. One day, during an assembly, Emeka laughed so menacingly that students fainted, and the head teacher had to shut down the school for a week. A community in turmoil. The community was thrown into disarray. People avoided the boys and their families, spreading rumors that Chike and Emeka were possessed by evil spirits. Livelihoods were affected, and their families became pariahs. Church members avoided sitting near them during Sunday services, whispering behind their backs. At home, the boys' parents faced sleepless nights. Emeka's mother found him standing on their roof one midnight, chanting strange incantations. Chike's father discovered a goat slaughtered in their living room, its blood smeared in cryptic patterns across the walls. Neither boy showed remorse or acknowledgement of their actions. The family sought help from traditional healers, who performed rituals that bore no fruit. They consulted doctors, who found nothing physically wrong. Desperation pushed them to the brink of hopelessness. The pastor's encounter. One day, a traveling pastor named Pastor Elijah arrived in Ajigona. Known for his fiery sermons and miraculous deliverance services, his arrival caused a stir. Chike's mother, Mama Chike, heard about him and decided to attend one of his crusades. She poured out her heart, explaining the torment her family had endured. Pastor Elijah listened intently and promised to visit their home. When Pastor Elijah entered Chike's house, the air grew thick, almost suffocating. "There's a presence here," he said, his voice steady but firm. He prayed fervently, calling on God to reveal the root of the darkness. Chike, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly let out an ear-piercing scream. His eyes turned blood red, and his body convulsed violently. Emeka, who had been summoned by his mother to join the prayer, began to laugh uncontrollably. His laughter echoed like 1,000 voices speaking at once. Pastor Elijah didn't flinch. He continued to pray, quoting scriptures with authority. The revelation. After hours of intense prayer, the truth emerged. Chike and Emeka had been lured into an occult group at the age of 13 by an older boy in their neighborhood. The initiation rituals involved invoking dark spirits for power and influence. Over time, the spirits took control of their lives, turning them into agents of destruction. Pastor Elijah declared that the boys needed full deliverance, which would require days of fasting and prayer. He gathered other pastors and intercessors, and together they began a spiritual battle for the boys' souls. The deliverance. The deliverance process was grueling. For 7 days and nights, Pastor Elijah and his team prayed, fasted, and anointed the boys with oil. The boys fought back, screaming, cursing, and even attacking the pastors. But the spiritual warriors pressed on, unwavering in their faith. On the seventh day, a breakthrough came. As Pastor Elijah prayed, a powerful wind swept through the room. Jack and Emeka fell to the ground, trembling. They let out a final, deafening cry, and then there was silence. When the boys opened their eyes, they were different. Their once hardened faces softened, and their eyes filled with tears. What happened? Jack asked, his voice trembling. Emeka looked at his mother and wept, "Mama, I'm sorry." The aftermath. The news of their deliverance spread like wildfire. The community, once hostile, now welcomed the boys with open arms. Jack and Emeka became active members of Pastor Elijah's church, sharing their testimony of redemption and the dangers of straying from God. Their families, once ridiculed, became pillars of hope for others. The boys returned to school, excelling in their studies and mentoring younger students. Their transformation was so profound that even their former victims forgave them. A new beginning. Years later, Jack became a pastor, dedicating his life to helping others break free from spiritual bondage. Emeka pursued a career in counseling, working with troubled youth to prevent them from falling into the traps he once succumbed to. Their story became a beacon of hope in Ajigona, a reminder that no one is beyond redemption. The once deadly friends were now vessels of God's grace, living proof that light can overcome even the darkest of shadows. And so, in the heart of Lagos, where their story began, Jack and Emeka found not only salvation but a purpose that would echo for generations to come.